Hi everybody and welcome to Knife Rev. Today we're going to talk about the Jeff White 18th century French style trade knife. Alright, so looking at the Jeff White 18th century French style trade knife, let me give you some specs. The knife is made out of 1095 steel. The blade is 5¼ inches long and it's about an inch wide and it's 3/32 thick. It is a full tang knife and it does have a convex grind. And it is made with curly maple handles and brass pins. And it does have a 90-degree spine. So let's take a closer look at the build quality. The wood finish is very smooth. You can't feel any ridges or any pits or anything, so it's done very well. And so are the pins. You can't feel anything there on both sides. Now looking at the transitions between metal and wood, it is very smooth. I can't feel anything, any protruding metal from the wood handle, so that's done very well. Taking a look at the spine, it is ground very nicely and it's ground at 90 degrees, so that is nice. Now looking at the plunge grind, let's see if I can get this a little closer. Looking at the plunge grind, it is done very well. It's even on both sides, and if we take a look at the tip, it's also symmetrical, so it's ground very well. So let's take a look at the ergonomics. And the handle is finished very nicely. Like I said before, it's very smooth. You can't feel any protrusions, and the fit is very nice. You know, you have enough hands for a large hand to barely make it in there, and the pins don't protrude out, so you won't feel anything there. And the knife itself is fairly light, so it's easy to handle. Alright, so let's take a look at the pros and cons of this knife. One of the pros is that this knife cost about $40, and I think for $40 is worth it. It's a very nice representation of an 18th century style French trade knife, and for $40 I think the quality is there. The wood is done very nicely, and like I said before, it's finished very nicely, and it does look very much like a 18th century style knife. If you like period knives, I think you're gonna enjoy this one, and it's a very nice product. The steel is 1095, so you're getting a quality steel for the price, and you're getting a 90-degree spine, which for a lot of people that are doing bushcraft and they like to use the knife to strike with a ferro rod. That's definitely handy. And I also like that this knife comes with a convex grind, and convex grind is easy to maintain with a strop, and if you ever nick the blade or actually need to resharpen it, all you really need is something like a mouse pad that gives a little give when you're actually passing it over sandpaper, and that's it. So you're not going to need any fancy jigs or anything to invest into getting this knife sharpened. So that's a plus. Now to me, some of the cons, and they are few, because I think it's a very well executed knife. But one of the things is the handle maybe could have been a little bit longer, and my hands are large size, and I can't get a full grip on it. But when I do, if you look over here, your finger is going to be very close to this point right here, and that's pretty sharp right there, and it could be annoying, or you may wind up cutting yourself if you get if you put a lot of pressure on there. But they could have done a better job by just making the handle maybe a little bit longer. This way you could still get a full purchase and be able to back off that point right there. I can do it still, but my pinky starts to hang out a little bit, and not as comfortable as if I choked up like this, but then I'm against that point. What you could do also is maybe take like a Dremel tool and put in a notch like a finger choil type notch that would actually circle around. And I might wind up doing that with this one eventually, but it's still you know, something that maybe out of the factory could have been done maybe a little better, but not a huge fault, but something to think about. The other thing is that with this particular knife, you get a sheath. Here's the sheath right here. Actually, you don't get a sheath. It's something I made up to protect the blade when I store it. Eventually, I wound up making one out of leather or something. But so you don't get a sheath with this particular knife. And if you do want to get a sheath, the price that they have on the website, it's almost as much as the knife. And to me, it just wasn't worth it, because you know, if you get a sheath and this knife, it's getting close to around, gosh, 75, 80 bucks, something like that. I can't remember what the sheath was, but it was almost as much as the cost of the knife. And at that point, it just wasn't worth it to me. For me, I wind up making something myself, and yeah, it's, you know, it's still a nice purchase. I think the knife, it's still worth it. It's just that you're going to have to decide for yourself if you know, if a leather sheath that they offer is worth your money. So I've had this knife for a little while, and I've used it on and off. I haven't had to resharpen it. It still has the factory edge on it, and let's just check out to see how sharp it still is. It cuts paper pretty well. Try some paracord. So it's still pretty sharp, and it still does the job. So again, this is the Jeff White 18th century French style trade knife. A very nice knife, a nice period knife. If you're into those kind of knives, and I really enjoy them, this would be a very nice purchase for 40 bucks, just slightly under $40. And yes, it does not come with a sheath, but then again, you could just get yourself a sheath if you want to fork over for it. But I think probably best way to go is just get some leather and maybe experiment and try to make one yourself. So thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you next time.